Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Full Throttle Remastered. Probably gonna finish the game, depending on if there's just like maybe a lot of commentary in this recording. It seems like you could have kind of easily skipped the entire Demolition Derby section and gotten to at least this far, so either maybe this door would have been locked, or maybe something else would have stopped you. Maybe he would have just said, "I can't go there yet." That would have not made so much sense. It took us looking up the solution for the Demolition Derby to even realize that you had to jump on the ramp on the left, stall the orange car, and then push the stalled orange car up the ramp on the right and over. And I didn't even do that the first time when I played it. I just looked into a solution that probably was a bug. Let's hear what they have to say about this room. This is a particularly boring room. Again, just like decorations that are unnecessary and wrong. They've consistently said in the commentary that they were over budget and that they needed to cut things. And just everywhere you look, there's something that was animated that shouldn't have been high priority or ever even allowed, and yet you probably could have put a lot of work into making some other elements better, have more conversations, have more puzzles, have more talking puzzles. Like, there's really no talking puzzles at all in the game.
This is the last game I ever programmed on, I believe.
Yeah.
I remember doing Ben crawling all over the semi and doing the bunny stuff, which is maybe why it was such a problem. This is an interesting transition for me in learning about schedules and how terrible and hard they are. Because Day of the Tentacle, I feel like, was the last game we did that was on time. Yeah. It was not a breeze, but it was like no crunch.
And they're working on Psychonauts 2 right now.
Part of that is because we had an extra 6 months at the end because of adding the voice we had. Right. But and this is the first game that went way over budget that I worked on. And first time I had a producer, which is Casey. So she would come in, and I just remember you asking,
like a specter.
Yeah, she'd come in and be like, Tim, when is this going to be done? And I just remember that weird feeling and I told this to you, like, I don't know how to express this, but I feel like you come in and ask me that question, and then I look over to the place where that information is, and I see this empty box with cobwebs in it. And then I come back out like, I don't know what to tell you.
And part of the problem with Tim Schafer, which ironically he was just given a Lifetime Achievement Award, and fair enough, he deserved it, but because he runs Double Fine now and he doesn't really program and he doesn't really know how to program, there's not anybody that does program at Double Fine. Not enough, and they're certainly not using like modern engines like Unreal or Unity, which might very well be the wrong engines to use to make point and click adventures. And it wasn't until maybe 5 or 6 years ago that Double Fine was really making any games when they came out with Broken Age. For the most part, it seemed like it was very much like Valve, where sure, Valve made Half-Life and Portal and all those series, but for many years there was no real requirement to ever produce a product that actually came out. Let's go in this room just so we specifically can see if there's any commentary or anything.
Was not only an inspirational leader, but also a great person.
You have like 2 pixels of Rotberger's mouth.
Malcolm and I spoke often of the future.
And
We talked of a day when
I wonder, like, if there's a slightly different projection that's going on.
tragic death took him from us sooner than anyone expected.
So we'll swap between what's happening between one and the other. You can see that the ratio is slightly different.
And I shall carry out that dream in his memory. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to present to you.
No, they seem to be staying pretty consistently. What's funny is the remastered yellow cartons have like no detail on them. They look just as bad as the yellow squares.
Hey, who are you? How long have you been there? Oh, security.
And see, here you have another character that she plays no real role.
What took you so long? He ran down the hallway. Move it.
Like, you have this Mavis character, and you don't even really know how this secret door.
Remember one time.
We've already heard that commentary. So, for my own interest, what happens if we do this again?
Man, that Ritburger can yap.
Hey, when is it that George came down and spoke to us all, and he said he had.
Okay.
That same guy, the big one. Catch him this time, will ya?
So there's some commentary.
This is gonna get old fast.
So why not lock the door?
Check out that double chin. What a stuffed shirt. Ah! Help! Security! Why can't you catch that guy? Donuts weighing you down.
So, a couple of lines of dialogue that we missed. I imagine there's probably 30 or 40 lines of dialogue that you could easily miss since this game is so linear.
Jeez, my feet are killing me. When's this thing gonna end? Ah!
And now it's just got down to
In here again. Are you even looking? Maybe she's just lonely.
Seems like you won't lose doing this. It seems like you've probably not gonna lose or die.
Blah blah. I sure miss old Corley. Ah! I could be dead right now with all your protection. I wonder if this could be Mavis's way of getting my attention.
Interesting. Like, we're going down a sort of funny path, but it's grindy.
Don't look at me like that. Hey, I wonder if he's got a thing for me.
And see, I think that's probably going to be it. And we'll just hear repetition at this point.
How could you miss a big guy like that? Yeah, I think that Mavis is trying to send me a message.
And see, this feels like this would have been an achievement for the remaster, since the remaster did have achievements. And it wasn't. Wasn't mentioned at all.
You think I'm kidding around here? Why doesn't she just ask me in for some coffee?
Here's a security question. If someone's claiming somebody's trying to break into a room, like, after the first time, wouldn't you just stay around in the same room with her? Just to for her protection alone?
This is getting old.
Yep, it's getting old and it's not really doing anything. Some voice actor was paid to do each of these lines, and one assumes that they probably said the lines multiple times. So you're talking maybe an extra day's worth of work. See, they're just not saying anything now. Let's see if that repeats. Which, considering this is such an insignificant section that you could easily miss. Yeah. It's full circles now. It's like there's nothing new. That was like 8 different times. 8 different lines of dialogue, and 2 characters that were paid, and another character that was voice acted. Let's see. Come over here and use the security card. I assume that's what that is on this. And let's listen to the commentary.
So this is at the time, this is the worst thing we could think of to happen, which was that the motorcycle company would start making minivans. Because minivans, I feel like they're pretty new in the 90s, right?
That's true.
That's when they emerged. They were the epitome of just selling out and living a suburban life.
Yeah, I've got one.
I would love to have one right now. Let me tell you. But that was like the worst vehicle we could think of.
They were really ugly initially too.
And nowadays it would be like, I don't know, SUV? No, I don't know. It would be something that would imply that a motorcycle company had sold out completely. Because we were like, how do you make it? You know, motorcycles, they live with a high risk situation. How do you really threaten? How do you make something really scary? Like their life is their way of life is going to end, and it's that their favorite motorcycle brand would start making.
You'd make a automatic driving car where you can't control it at all. You'd make something like that. You'd make it a Tesla or electric car so it doesn't make any sound or give off any fumes, because that's what a biker would like, is the sound of the engine roar, the vibration of the engine, the fumes coming out from the gasoline or diesel engines. And then if you had it automated in such of a way that it would, you're not even controlling it. Alright, let's just kick these. Nope, can't kick them. And lamp level. And then lamp level. And then
What you see before
let's see what we burn.
is my vision for greatness.
And it seems like even on the non-replayed, the non-remastered gameplay, that's a really easy puzzle. It doesn't seem like the motor speed even really mattered. It's just turn the lamp switch to the highest setting. And I have a hard time feeling like anybody who would actually make it through a point-and-click adventure style game to this point would be frustrated with one more puzzle. I'm much more frustrated with the mini game of the Demolition Derby.
This is the last game
We already heard that one, so now we can walk in here and we can listen to this commentary without being interrupted.
Hey, when is it that George came down and spoke to us all, and he said he had his 55% rule? There was a game that precipitated that.
I thought it was 40. If you get 45% of what you want, then you're.
No, 55.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was 55. No, it was just over half. He goes, if you got this great idea and you think it's going to be killer, and through the realities of relegating it with a team and all the collaboration, all the technical limitations, you get it to 55% of relegating your concept, the audience will get it. And it's time to let go and ship your products, folks. Like, come on. Right. This is a business after all.
That's odd that George Lucas would make that statement, considering he didn't particularly practice what he preached when he made the Star Wars remasters and put in all kinds of new elements and CGI and edited scenes and made the important things, many argue, different. When really a remaster for Star Wars, being such a popular title, really should have just been a direct remaster with no new edits, no new lines of dialogue, no CG, no new characters, nothing like that. I mean, maybe you polish up a character and replace him with CG, but even in the instances where George Lucas did that, I don't think people liked it. You just clean up the film. That's all he needed to do. But he wasn't willing to do that.
Slide shows our new, more aggressive corporate strategy.
And you automatically put the photos as soon as you put the tape on the screen also. So it's one action that actually does two actions.
Where'd you get the idea of having a New England accent? It's really cool.
Pepperidge Farms guy, right?
Pepperidge Farm.
I don't
Just in
think-
here with these bikers.
In this, the voice for this game, I was more removed from it than I would be on future games. I got really involved in the casting and
okay.
stuff. So I was involved in the casting of Ben and stuff, but Tamlin, Neelio, and Chris Brown did a lot of it on their own, and they went and recorded definitely without me. And so I don't remember. And Tamlin's thing was we got to differentiate all these characters,
Right.
and that's where a lot of the crazy accents come from. Is like you got to make them stand out
Oh,
from each other.
It worked. They're great.
It implies almost like the world is in this post-apocalypse so that there's so few survivors, they all banded together and they're living closer together.
Psychiatric session. Near the end, he suffered many paranoid delusions. He was haunted by powerful forces of his own creation.
Yeah, the pictures doesn't really explain that.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Maureen Corley, and do I have a heck of a story for you?
Doing that squinty eyes.
You'll see why
She
this
just
man
pushes.
should be in jail. Hey,
She just pushes him away and he runs away.
There he goes.
Like he had a cane with him. He could have
after me.
called security. He could have beat her to death right then. And he just takes off in a vehicle we hadn't even seen.
When it's time to find you, we'll just follow the shiny trail.
So this is the second point
Any other questions?
where you almost certainly would have been better finishing the game. It's not unheard of for artists to have trouble finishing projects though and just going on forever.
So, after we pick up your bike, we'll go get my gang out of jail.
And then find out why my gang never showed up to help us.
And then you go business suit shopping.
Don't remind
Yeah, you could have just ended it right here. Instead they added one more
Rich.
At this
sequence.
Time, settle for just a little peace and quiet.
Like, you could have ended the game, the scene before this, started a sequel right here. And if this game had been on budget and released on time, you may have had a much better chance of getting a sequel.
I was just about to talk about the inherent dangers of the unicycle operation. Can't you make this damn thing go away?
So I'll have to kind of remember how this works. And it seems like the vulture lady on the right there might have been a new character. So, alright, we gotta pick up the panel, and then we gotta grab the cane. Let's see, pick up the panel, and grab cane. Let's hit A and see if there's... Let's hit A just to see if there's any dialogue. And then you open the grill. And do we have any bunnies? Yes, we do. So we can throw the bunnies in here. Let's see, can we throw the chain in there? Can we throw the tire iron in there? Let's go ahead and let's save the bunnies this time. We did it once. And we put his cane in there to break the engine fan. But here's the deal. They maybe totally didn't even register. Like, this is a different truck from the truck we were on before. Absolutely, because the other truck that Emmett was driving totally blew up. So they're just reusing the assets. Let's see, we can... I don't understand if maybe you just have to pull this several times. Or maybe we need this on that. Ah. That's what I needed. And it's been long enough that I don't even remember. And then somebody sneaks up on him from behind. Two people sneak up from behind. Again, you could have ended it there. And this gets more cartoony than... hey, there's that red mohawk girl that we see in the menu. Wait a minute.
I said it couldn't fly. I never said it couldn't taxi. Well, it would be nice since we're headed for the gorge.
Ripper, you're going to kill all of us. Shh, Ben, don't move an ending. How do you stop this thing?
From the cockpit.
So, this whole time I've been saying this girl didn't seem like she showed up in the game. And I thought maybe she did show up on the road, but I didn't even see her there. But there he is. Let's see. There's a spiky-haired lady. Ah, in the remaster, it's more of a mohawk. It's more spikes here, where it's more of a mohawk there. And here you can clearly see a mustache, where you don't really see a mustache here. And the face is redrawn to show that this is Maureen a little bit better. So some major changes. When I hit A, there's no commentary. I'm not sure how much commentary is going to be. Seems like you're bulletproof.
So much for the controls. I could have used those.
Alright, and there's still no commentary. So, emergency, military crisis, passenger control, neutralize. Emergency, military crisis, passenger control, tear gas? Maybe it's landing, ditch. Let's see. Seatbelt signs, manual controls, takeoff, post takeoff, gear, raise gear.
Goes nothing.
And this puzzle is over the course of several scenes, several cuts. It doesn't feel like a standard point-and-click adventure puzzle. It feels like something more like, what is that, Dragon's Lair, which really isn't a great way to run a game.
Are you alive?
I am.
Because there's a lot of opportunities for failure.
I can see him. He's out cold. Climb back here quick.
Alright, let's see. We're just gonna come over here and main menu, defense menu, machine guns, control, system off to kill him. I don't even know why that really is necessary. It says can't beat a Coralie on the... I'll hit A. So you actually murder him, which is, I suppose, alright for a character like Ben. And he would have shot his gun at me, I believe, if I had tried to move before then. You just see all these little pixels
So this is a big question for the remaster because the aspect ratio is wider. And one of the puzzles here is as you run out of this, you don't see Ben's bike lurking in the corner. So you try to run for it and then you blow up. But it was a puzzle, so like you have to walk to the left to pan over to see the Ben's bike. But now I think it's just in the show.
Interesting. So you actually did have to walk over to the left. So this is the only place besides the salvage yard where that was an issue. And that's no way to make a puzzle.
I think the explosion looks like a giant croissant chasing you out of the flame. Watch this. Look for the croissant.
Must have been breakfast.
Here it comes. And croissant.
Yes.
Delicious.
Flaky.
That's my favorite. Okay, that is a favorite.
That's the best shot.
And see, you could have ended the game on the gorge jump with fire behind you in the same way.
There's a game to hit.
But then they felt to do yet another cinematic here. What's the deal with all the statues at the cemetery
Mystery.
in the background?
And yet, an inspiration to us all.
Like, this graveyard implies that so many people died, yet you had a society to build enough, like, stone
Thank you,
monuments?
Corley, for giving us a dream that will never die.
And yet another cutscene.
So,
Maybe we could do lunch sometime next week.
yeah, sure. Lunch sounds great.
Things aren't gonna change, are they, Ben? I mean, just because I'm in charge of the company now, and living in a mansion and riding around in limos, that doesn't mean we won't spend a lot of time together, does it?
Look, Mo, you're in a different league now. You shouldn't be hanging out with the likes of me anymore.
But Ben, just a second. Hello? What? No, that's crazy. Is he nuts? Look, move the meeting up to 5 and tell the plant foreman that I'm coming over personally to inspect those parts. I know, that's what I told him.
It's kind of cliche that they felt a need to leave them broken up.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of would have preferred to have a happier ending and have them together. At least for a while. And are we going to get any commentary over the credits? Because that's usually where you get a lot of the meat and potatoes of a commentary. I'm hitting A, nothing's happening. But we still have to kind of sit through the credits to see if they pipe in. Like, you can get at least a few stories going by remembering who worked on the game. Or you could at the very least have the decency to have people doing the developers commentary to thank the people who aren't doing the developers commentary that also worked on the game. 1995 copyright, or registered actually. A lot of this game still very much feels like it was designed around selling that CD, but I'm not sure that really even would succeed that well, because music fans, people who aren't particularly into video games when this game came out, I mean, the world was very, very different back then, and not everybody played video games. Very few people did, in fact. Like, I'm not sure music fans would really feel the need to play the game to the end to see the band's name and that the soundtrack was available. They probably wouldn't play the game at all. And video game fans, there was a little bit of overlap there where some video game fans might have bought the soundtrack, but Personally, I wouldn't have. And if the developer's commentary jumped in right now on the credits, I would have to assume that the reason is they only had about half the credits worth of time to say something. It's a little weird on commentary for video games because you never really get any great and juicy stories. It would be better if they hired a researcher. The developer's commentary for the Blu-rays of the Twilight Zone is actually rather good, but they're problematic because the commentary is made decades after the episodes for Twilight Zone were made, and so very few people were even alive, let alone remember what was going on. But they hired a researcher, hired somebody who had already written a compendium book that was talking about that. I think video games need to do that too. They need to have somebody do the research, hire somebody from IGN or Giant Bomb or Kotaku or something, have them do the research, go through old articles that have been said. There's been a lot of game developer conferences and things that are being said, so you could get a lot of stories that have already been told to add to your commentary and actually get something interesting. A lot of this commentary isn't anything special. It's very odd that it, at the beginning when they were introducing all of the commentators, it was surround sound sounding, and it sounded like there was 7 people in the room. It never felt like there was more than 2 or 3 people in the room. Another trick you can do in commentary is have just 2 or 3 people in the room doing their commentary, and then you have a second group of 2 or 3 people in the room doing their commentary, and then you can sneakily cut and paste it together and make it seem like they are all in the same room at the same time. I feel like some of these Star Trek commentary for the original series of Star Trek kind of happened that way. Clearly, if you have the main actor of Star Trek, who is notorious for talking at non-stop, he alone would have filled the room with conversation, and half of his co-actors probably wouldn't have wanted to even been in the same room with him. So then you have Captain Kirk do his commentary, and then you have Spock and Bones do their commentary, and then you mix them together, and you have more than enough. Wow, see?
Our custodian, like we'd be working late in crunch mode, and the janitor would come by to clean up, and we'd end up talking to him for a long time. His name was Paul. Do you remember Paul? And he had this crazy vacuum cleaner that he wore like a backpack, and he would go down on it, and we would have these long talks with him about Haiti and stuff, because I was like, I think we'd seen Serpent in the Rainbow or something. We were like, tell us about the Tonton Maku. And he would tell us all about the real Haitian politics and stuff, and everyone got the credits back then.
See, that's an interesting story. The problem is they came in at least 2 or 3 minutes into the credit to say that 4 or 5 sentence story, and then they jumped right back out. That doesn't work. Does not work well at all. I would also suggest for modern games you do developers commentary right after your game is mega successful, if it is mega successful. Like at the Game of the Year point, that's when you should be recording your developers commentary and releasing it, not even waiting a year. In comparison, like the remasters for BioShock and BioShock Infinite that has developer commentary in it, that was like 4 or 5 years in between, and it probably would have helped people's memories to do it just 1 year past. There isn't a problem with commentary if everybody has forgotten everything and it's just a little too sweet, a little too saccharine, because everybody's just not mad at each other anymore. They've forgotten all their arguments and problems, and they're just all happy to say the nice things. You don't want it to feel too polished, because that's not what the developer commentary is. We want to see how the sausage is made. So we want the dirty truth. We don't want what you might say while you were advertising the game, that everybody loved each other and there were never any fights and everything came in on time and nobody was ever late. The main thing I can take away from this commentary is kind of the thing I already knew about Tim Schafer and Double Fine. Tim Schafer pretty much is Double Fine. He's in charge. He's the person who hires and fires. There's probably a significant portion of employees at Double Fine that never worked at LucasArts, but they're picked by Tim Schafer to be like the employees that he worked with at LucasArts. So they still have that same slow to actually produce mentality. It's one of those job environments that happens a lot in California, where it's really fun to work there. Everybody loves each other. It's kind of cultish. Like, it's a big old family, which no jobs aren't family, but they treat it like that. And they just don't finish the projects. And when they do finish projects, they're not as good as they probably should be.
What a jerk. Now I totally remember why people hated me.
The music is still playing, and they just pop in and pop out again. They shouldn't be popping in and popping out. They should just have them read out the names, and even if you can just say, "Oh, I remember him. I remember her." That type of thing. That would be better than them going silent and it getting cut. Yep. It's a real shame, because I don't have any faith in Psychonauts 2. In fact, personally, I've been waiting at least a year and a half to play Psychonauts 1. I'm waiting for them to announce an actual date, which hopefully they don't announce a date that is within like a week or so of it actually coming out. But I didn't even want to play Psychonauts 1 on my PC before it was somewhere around the time that the sequel was going to come out. The same is true for Beyond Good and Evil 2, which is notoriously never coming out. It's interesting that that there was no Chuck the Plant reference in this game. There could have easily been a cactus somewhere in the middle of the bar, or somewhere that was just called Chuck, because that was a Maniac Mansion reference. No Maniac Mansion reference, no Day of the Tentacle references. Sam and Max references, yes. Sam and Max is kind of weird because the licenses didn't seem to stick with LucasArts, and instead went to Telltale to make new Sam and Max games, and they didn't make enough money for them to justify ever making a new Sam and Max game. And I'm not sure there's actually too much that I would want done. I think Ron Gilbert was behind Sam and Max, and Ron Gilbert's not really working with the people he was working with in the old days to make them. That's why there have been several remasters where they've replaced Sam and Max with LucasArts Legos.
Wait, the game was better than you remembered?
Working on it was better than you. No, it looks good. It looks pretty good. I'd play that.
It was really fun. Fun project.
Maybe they were watching the remastered graphics.
Apparently, Clint and Mark Crowley put in.
Oh.
That I heard when they were getting punchy.
What
What was
Easter egg
that?
was
I don't remember.
The safe.
The
When
safe.
you punch your code in the safe.
you remember that?
I don't even remember that. This goes to show
Is
you.
that ship in the game?
It's like Kublai
Yes.
Khan.
Oh, man.
Because it was a whole thing where we were like saying that we had to know about like every single Easter egg. Just let us know so we knew it was there. And I guess they got punchy and decided to put it in.
There must have been some sort of vocal gratification.
Says it's still
But
in there.
all these years later, we're grateful. We're grateful that it made it in.
Mark Crowley and his birthday, you can find it.
It took us only 2 hours of playthrough to get to the farts. That's not bad.
Yeah.
So you'd have to know his birthday and put it into the code. Well, there's not likely to be anything new here. No new. Oh, I guess you have commentary now. So if you wanted to listen to all the commentary, and this is an interesting point because I guess you can't go lo-fi on the commentary. You can kind of count how many there are. 3, 6, 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, and yeah, it looks like 54 bits of commentary for the entire game if I counted right, which I didn't, and I'm sure I may have been off by 9 or so, maybe a little bit less than that. We've already seen all this concept art. It's not very interesting. It's all black and white, which tells me it probably was the actual concept art compared to a lot of the concept art you see in games which are fully finished pieces of work, pieces of art that are used for publishing purposes. It definitely feels like playing it the second time through, I was more complaining about Double Fine and their slow production schedule. I can't even save, so our last save will be for, let's see, March 20. It would be 94% on the autosave, I guess. That's close enough. The old graphics. How come this is not working? Interesting. It doesn't want to work there. Old classic art being remastered versus remastered. I'd say probably do that. Remastered controls. I couldn't figure out what that did. But I would definitely say keep the remastered gameplay. I guess I'd never turned it off. So at some point that would have been an issue. And if I had turned, say, graphics quality to low, I don't even know what that would have done. But I don't really care either. Full Throttle's such a weird game now that I've played it twice as well. Like, I'm just gonna have this weird nostalgia for the first part of it, and I'm almost certainly gonna forget nearly at least 2/3 of the back half of the game. Like, it's just too long. It went into production trouble. This remastered menu makes no sense in a lot of ways too. They needed to think things through. Like, this knife looks like it's some kind of magical ivory dagger. Why is it not just a silver knife? Or maybe it is supposed to be silver, but if it is, then this is a silver, like, cloth too, and then this glass that actually looks silver and this dog that actually looks silver don't match. That's it for this series. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on things like Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Facebook, all of those links are down below in the description box. And if you want to support me, I ask that you friend me on Steam. The information is down below too. And gift me either a game you'd like me to see or a game that you see on my wish list on Steam. Or if you don't want to choose, you can go down to the bottom of the Steam main page. There's a button that says gift cards. And you could just give me money, which would help certainly when that brand new game comes out. And I'm trying to scrap together a few more dollars to buy it since so many of those games come out. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.